This is Unpivot, the show for Excel and Power BI fans and anyone who loves chatting about data. I'm Wyn Hopkins.
I'm Giles Male.
I'm Mark Proctor.
I'm Sue Bays.
Welcome back, Sue.
Yeah,
Sue's in the house.
Yeah, we were trying to sort out the order, and the only way everyone could agree was that I was last.
Yeah.
It's a good guess. It's a good guess. So how was LA and Chicago? And what is that it?
Yeah, Gibraltar and Vienna I've done. LA was amazing. I went to Orange County to a Women in Electronics conference where I talked about data and ran a session on data analytics for executives. Orange County, yeah.
As in, like, were some people talking about printers?
No, the stuff that powers our computers.
Oh, it's a bit broad, though, isn't it? Electronics.
Well, it's very exciting. It was brilliant. Some amazing sessions. Lots to talk about AI. Lots to talk about automation and the difference. Talk about creativity, brains, careers, leadership. It was really, really good. And then we went on a boat. Champagne for sequel bit. You need to up your game, really. And then flew to Chicago, ran Chicago Marathon, which was just out of this world. 54,000 runners, 2 million people supporting, and it was just non-stop.
Is this in between all the crime-ridden streets in Chicago?
Bit of the National Guard, apparently, but no, it was. I mean, Chicago is just. I never would have gone if it wasn't for the marathon, but it's just the most awesome city.
Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful. Loved it, and then went to the Irish bar. You'd have loved it, Giles. Irish bar afterwards, and partied hard. Met the Boston race director and the Chicago race director and the Mark, so yeah, I had a ball.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Brilliant.
Yeah, good marathon too. Enjoyed it.
Cool. And then Bulgaria.
Oh, yes. Tell us all.
Giles, how was Bulgaria?
Bulgaria was fun. Yeah,
it
was wild. Mark was there as well. I was there prancing around in a fur coat, dancing. Mark was training people how to get better at Excel, which is kind of the story of our lives at the moment.
And did you manage to get your presentation cut down into the allotted time, Mark?
I got it down to 32 minutes, which was and my on-stage time was 32 minutes. I was within 15 seconds of what I thought I was going to be, so I was quite impressed with that. So yeah, it went very well.
It was very good. Mark put a lot of work into like the story arc to make it fun. It was very, very cool.
Excellent.
What was it about?
It was about 6 different ways in which Excel functions spill. So that was I had 6 points, but to deliver my 6 points, I started off by talking about Sonic the Hedgehog and how when I was a boy, I was a gamer and I loved Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic the Hedgehog had 6 levels. But now I've grown up, right? I'm past that. I'm an adult now. I don't play Sonic the Hedgehog. Instead, I play Spilling the Spreadsheet. I then had this little spreadsheet character that came along, and we then went through different zones: the basic array zone, the dynamic ranges zone, the non-spiller zone, the double spiller zone. And at the end of each zone, we had this little counter that counted up how many points we had. And we went through all these 6 zones, and then at the end, I had this little spreadsheet character that I built. He then was on Sonic and jumping around trying to Sonic. And then we, in Sonic, for some reason, and I didn't know this at the time, at the end of each level, you jump on this thing that rescues a whole load of like rabbits. I don't really know why that existed. And so now I had my spreadsheet character equally rescuing this selection of rabbits.
So how much Sonic did you have to play to remember the
Thankfully, there are people who are bigger geeks than me, and there is somebody online who's got their complete game of Sonic from start to finish, and all I had to do was decide which bits of that I was going to borrow from.
And did it make you want to play Sonic again?
No, I mean I did back in the day. Sonic was probably the first game I completed. But equally, I was there thinking I've got better things to do. I've got to work out how these spreadsheets spell to start with. I mean, that's much more an interesting game.
I was
I'd like to see that session.
I was a manic miner kid. That's why I wasted, and jetpack on the Spectrum. That's why I wasted all my.
Mine was the Olympics one. You know, when you used to have to press.
Daily Thompson's decathlon or something like that as well.
Yeah.
Yes, we ruined a few keyboards back in the day. The old X and Y keys used to break. Giles is looking at us going, no idea what you're talking about.
My one was, what was the computer console? It began with A.
Atari?
Amiga?
Maybe, there was Amiga, I think. There was the karate game where it was epic. It was just
Double
simple.
Dragon. And then there was, a few of those Tekken. And
Streets of Rage.
And the one where you used to have to program it so that it would go faster ping, where it would ping back and forth. Do you remember the little ball?
Nothing that involved programming when I was a kid. Of course you did.
Commodore, Dragons.
I remember you used to be able to buy books, and the books used to have the code.
Yeah.
When you typed out all the code, you would then get this was on the Amstrad.
Yes.
When you typed out all the code, you'd run it, and then you built a game. So that was like when I was, I don't know, 8 or something, maybe 9, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
That was my first experience of coding, where you would have to write out all the instructions for this game, and if it didn't work, it would just tell you that there was an error on row like 17. You have to go and fix it.
Yeah, and if you wanted it to go faster, you had to change all the variables or the lines to get bigger. Yeah.
But I will tell you this story from Bulgaria before Giles tells it, and puts a spin on it that I'm not happy with.
I don't know what this is. I'm nervous. Do I?
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
so on the Tuesday, the day before, I gave this training session, and I had an example which is all about replacing words. And this example that was all about replacing words. Okay, so I had my products and then a list of parts. Okay. Products and a list of parts, and we're simply replacing words in my list of parts with other words. Now, I just made up a list of generic part-sounding type names.
Yeah.
And my example was working well. There, at one point, a couple of people were chuckling. I thought, well, it is quite a fun example, isn't it? It wasn't until afterwards that someone told me what one of the, if you go on Urban Dictionary and search for that word, has a very different meaning, let me tell you. Not the kind of word you would say in public, but there I was pronouncing it multiple times to multiple people.
You have to tell us what the word is now.
Perfectly fine, perfectly valid word. If you Google that word, it's absolutely fine. But on Urban Dictionary, means something completely different.
Go on, what word? What word?
I can't say it, Sue. It'd be too rude. Now that you know,
put it in the chat. Put it in the chat.
No. Now I'll tell you afterwards. But now that you know, I can't say it. Now, since then, I've tried to recreate that example, and I've gone on and I've looked at other words. And Urban Dictionary, every single word is rude. You can't use any word in the English language. Every word means something rude. So now I've stopped going on Urban Dictionary because you can't find any word that doesn't have alternative meanings. But I will change that one example and change that word to something else.
I think all of our listeners will want to know as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's best if I don't say it out loud.
One for the Christmas special, maybe.
Maybe the
big reveal.
Yeah.
could be the case.
You tell me after, because otherwise it'll really irritate me.
Yeah. So thank you to Faye, who sent me a LinkedIn message afterwards. It was just like, I'm not sure if you're aware, and so I wasn't aware.
So go on, Giles. What would your spin have been?
What would my what?
Spin. Mark said he wants to tell the story before you spin it your way.
Oh no! I said that there were a number of stories that we could have gone down there, and so that's fine. No, all good. Just a slightly weird word.
Just leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what? I've totally lost my train of thought. I was going to ask a question then.
Well, we haven't asked about you, Wyn. What have you been up to apart from
What have I been up
living
to?
in a hot country?
Yeah, it's not been. We had our 25-year anniversary, which is lovely. So
looks brilliant.
we had the company and our sort of clients from years gone by, and a few people that have left the company and come back and gone and worked for other people.
Wow.
So yeah, it's good. Big old catch up with a
Yeah.
little roving magician and a few other things going on. It was good fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And it was nice and warm warmish. And then it lashed. And it was outside, and then it lashed down about 2 hours later. So yeah, worked out well. Happy with that. It's good. Work-wise, they came across. What was that? Somebody was having issues with their Power BI reports because somebody in IT decided to change the SharePoint root structure.
Oh.
So every single report was failing to refresh. So that was fun and games. Please don't change your SharePoint root path.
Yeah.
That happened to me once when I was working way back 20 years ago back in the UK, and the network path was something like P/ and then the company name / and then something else.
Yeah.
And one of the senior managers didn't like part of the way the wording was spelt, or somebody had misspelt it or put a gap when there shouldn't be a gap.
Yeah.
So they thought, I'll fix that up now. just adjusted it, and everybody in finance's spreadsheets broke because all the links were broken and everything. So don't go fiddling with that stuff. It's
the same in Teams, isn't it? If you change your file structure in Teams, you then forget that it actually has an impact upon SharePoint.
All goes wrong, and it's not good. So there we go. And are we just going to talk about AI for 3 hours and moan about it? Is that?
I could whinge for as long as you want me to.
Everybody happy with that? Oh, before I remembered what I was going to say. You bumped into a few Unpivot fans at the conference as well, didn't you? Which is always lovely.
Oh, story from that, Mark.
Go
Do
on.
you remember where I accidentally kind of insulted the guy's present that was given to you? You were given a pink.
Hussein, yeah, Hussein. So Hussein he bought me this marshmallow type cake thing. It was like a gift,
nice.
and that was incredibly kind.
Yeah.
And Giles was like, "What is this?"
Well, no, it was worse than that. So before Hussein was lovely. Like, he came up, he found Mark, he found me, and he said, Giles, can I get a picture of us with the Unpivot little sticker? Yeah, cool. And then we kind of ended up next to Mark, and I just saw this, like, it looked like a fake pink donut to me. And me, being the typical idiot that I am with no filter, went, "What is that disgusting looking thing?" And it turned out it was this gift that Hussein had brought personally to give to me. Mark's like, "That's the present Hussein's just given me." I was like, "Oh God, why do I say things sometimes?" Question everybody asked. And but luckily I think Hussein hasn't totally gone off me, and he was really cool. There were other listeners there as well. It was really nice.
So because Hussein's probably listening, would you like to publicly apologise to Hussein now? I think that would be the right thing to do.
I publicly apologise. It looked wonderful. It's not all about first impressions. I bet it tasted fantastic. Thank you for listening, Hussein.
Well, I mean, I must admit, so when you first gave it to me, because there's this little cartoon character on the box, I wasn't sure if it was like a toy, it was like a stress ball or something. So I said, "Is this what do I do with this?" And he's like, "You eat it." The guys looked at me like I was the craziest person who's ever lit. You eat it. Why would that be a toy? But it's very nice.
Can we also mention the gift that I've mentioned this about 4 different places now, and I've posted about it. But we had Mike Koss there, who was one of the original Excel programmers, like from the original team in 1984. And he gave all of the speakers a signed plaque with about 80% of the original Excel team's signatures on.
Oh, wow.
You have to blur your screen, Mark. It's a bit blurry, but there you go. That's better. how cool is that? Like, I don't think he was telling, he was so lovely.
Very cool.
The original Excel team, or the majority of them, meet up every decade. Like they make sure they meet up once a decade. So they just met up for the 40th birthday of Excel, and he got these signed specifically for us, which is amazing.
Oh, brilliant.
Very cool. Good. So good fun was had. I was a bit jealous seeing everybody having fun. So,
but we're going to all meet up together, aren't we?
We will be. I think we're all going to be at the Excel Global Summit in May next year.
Yeah.
So we should see everybody there. I think that's pretty much going to happen. So yeah, we'll make official announcements when we've got something more official. I think it's on the website already, but yeah, we should be all there together, I think. So
it's in the diary.
It's in the diary. Lock it in. May 2026, London. See you there, folks.
Yeah.
Right. So AI rants. Who wants to start? Where do we go with this?
I've been listening to Giles's other podcast. The Mod Squad on the Financial Modeller's Corner. So it's been I'd say it's been exceptionally interesting listening to other people try out these tools and other people's thoughts and things like that. I'm partway through the episode on agent mode. I'm halfway through the episode, and currently it hasn't yet done anything. So, I mean, it's an hour-long episode, 30 minutes of so far nothing's happened. I hopefully it's going to get better, or else this is maybe the worst podcast anyone has ever done about an AI tool. Just after an hour, just go, don't work.
Real life.
I can give you an insight that it does do stuff, and some of it's impressive. I mean, I can start, and because you just have to stop me at some point.
We'll put a 4-minute sort of lock on everybody, and then
we'll put our mute on and have a cup of tea.
So here's the thing, right? And I just came off the MVP call with the Excel team yesterday, and like genuinely, what the Excel team are doing, I love it. Like they're so smart, these guys. We had Jake and Chris on yesterday, and they were showing us some of the stuff that's coming out. I love it. Technically, all of the innovation is amazing. Agent looks really impressive, but my God, I am literally losing the will to live with the overhyping of it. And unfortunately, and I did have a bit of a rant to all of the MVPs by email on this, it's coming from Microsoft as well. So I am kind of looking at this and just saying, like, is there any point? Am I just going to keep being outwardly grumpy when this is literally being fueled by the company and others that we're all kind of MVPs for? So I hate the term vibe modeling. I wish we could be in a place where we could look at this and go, this is really good. Like, genuinely, this is going to be great. But right now, you've got to be really careful, because some of the stuff it's doing looks like it's right. And if you don't know what you're looking at, you are going to make terrible decisions. And I don't know what the liability is on Microsoft. I'd be really interested in how they cover this. Like, what if their agent gives wrong financial predictions because it's just technically wrong, but it looks right? I have no idea. So it's really making me go down a deep internal journey of, why am I an MVP? What does it mean to be an MVP? What do Microsoft want from me as an MVP? Do they just want me to shut up and jump on the hype train and start posting about Copilot and Agent and saying it's amazing? Do I want to reapply next year? Or do I just want to do all the stuff I'm doing that I was doing when I was not an MVP anyway? I'll stop there.
I think the real question, Giles, is, do you want to make a music video next year? If you do, then you need to reapply. If you don't, that's your get out of jail free card. That's your way to save some cash. So
you would think that, wouldn't you? But I think there's a really cool play on the idea of being an ex MVP that I can link to X lookup. And I almost think that would be the best way to close the music video series. It's like I'm no longer an MVP, and I can make it like the end of Blood Brothers when somebody's died. And it's like me putting the MVP plaque in in a coffin and it gets lowered down through the stage and everybody, it could be really epic, but we'll see.
Yeah, but it doesn't. The way I view it is that I'm not, yes, I've got my MVP, which I love, but it doesn't mean I'm a salesperson for them. I don't have to say anything I don't agree with.
No,
and actually, within the data platform, that's appreciated. They want constructive, helpful comments from people who are using their tools. So
yeah.
It's because so like the call yesterday, I think it was brilliant to just engage with the Excel team and see what they're working on and give them feedback. It's the other side of it where it's like, if you just jump on the bandwagon, A, you'll probably be an MVP quickly because they just love it, and
no,
B,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think possibly there may have been cases. So yeah, that's my very moany kind of position.
Yeah. But I think, circling back to something you said, so guess where I've been? Circling back. You're right. I used one of the slides that David Johnson, who's one of our listeners, he put something on LinkedIn. So thank you, David. I used it in one of my presentations, and it said it's not the big mistakes that will get you fired; it's the small ones. And if you're using AI tools, exactly as you said, without having any validation or any understanding of what it's doing or how it's doing it or how it's making its decisions, then it will give you an answer that looks okay, but it's not right. So it's being very, very careful with the context and the phrasing and what you ask it to do. And some things, it's brilliant for brainstorming ideas and creativity and helping you with a bit of coding. But you need to, with numbers, you need to check and check and check, because it can give you an answer that looks okay, but it isn't necessarily okay.
Yeah. I came across a couple of examples this week where sort of, people let's just say people I know, to keep it as vague as possible, have got, tried writing DAX that was just suddenly given the wrong answer. And it was just like, well, sort of, what's your approach here? And it was just like, well, I just put it in ChatGPT and it gave me this. It's just like,
no.
The dangerous thing is, right, is what if it had worked for that one example? And then you just don't spot it. So people are already, intelligent, people with proper jobs doing, in serious things are already just going, this is good enough. I don't really have to learn it. I can just ask GPT and then get the answers.
Yeah, you have to break it down so that you understand each thing that it's doing,
So my little bugbear, and I had a bit of a rant on LinkedIn today about it, was I've heard a few people now say that when AI replaces people, they will find other jobs because they will learn to create apps, because it's so easy to learn now, because they can just learn it from AI. AI can teach them, and you can just learn to vibe code or vibe work or whatever without having the skills. And I just don't see that people who do most jobs, most people don't want to know how to code. Most people don't want to know how to build things. They just want to get on with their proper job, and the technology is just there to sort of, get stuff done, but they're never going to delve into it. And if the technology sort of puts them out of a role, they're not going to suddenly become coders. It just doesn't, of any sort. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, that was my little rant.
I would like to peer behind the curtain of all of these companies that talk about vibe coding. Can you imagine if Microsoft came, here's the new version of Excel, it's 100% vibe coded. I mean, I'd be there thinking, oh, that's going to be slow, isn't it? Like that's going to be a bloated bit of software. I mean, like people hype this up, but in reality, no real software company is going to go, hey, we vibe coded all this, go, just go and use it. I had somebody in our community the other week who had vibe coded some Power Query, some M code, and he sent it to me and asked if I could help him to optimize it, because he said it was taking 7 minutes to run. I opened it up and I looked at it and I was like, I don't even know what 90% of this code does. So I was looking at it, I haven't got a clue. So I asked him, what's the goal? What are you actually trying to achieve? And he said, I'm trying to do this. So I then spent 10 minutes creating 2 lines of code that achieved exactly the same thing that ran in a few seconds. So it's that thing of, in the real world, vibe coding is going to create things that are exceptionally slow and very bloated and contains a whole load of stuff that you don't need. So I can't. So the concept I understand, but in a real commercial environment, if people are doing things for themselves, it's like that's, it's not a big problem, is it? As long as you test it and it works, then I think it's almost okay. But in a, vibe coding an app, who's going to buy this app? Because everyone else is going to be vibe coding these apps. The marketplace is going to be awash with apps that have been vibe coded, and also all these people. I listened to this podcast about AI the other week. It's one of the most depressing things I've ever listened to. Equally, it was, if who's even buying these apps? Because if no one's got any jobs, no one's got any disposable income to buy any of these apps. So, no one's, building these apps is completely irrelevant.
But
so what does vibe coding actually mean?
You don't know what it's doing.
Just go with the flow. Just hey, this, I'll put in my prompt. It gives me something. I copy and paste it in. Does it work? Fantastic. I'll give it my next prompt. If it doesn't work, hey, this doesn't work. Gives you something else and something else, and eventually you build up this this big pile of code that you don't understand, and anybody who knows what they're doing would say, don't do it that way. But because you don't know, it's just a house of cards just stacked up waiting for something to happen.
And we've done this before. I think I may have even mentioned this. Now I'm about to say it, that the macro recorder was the initial vibe coder, right? It's just let's just record stuff. Oh, look, it works. Yeah, but if any little minor thing changes, it doesn't work. And when you leave the company, it doesn't work. And it's just like, so yeah, great. But is that just going to explode? It's easier to write that sort of buggy nonsense code and things.
And this is where, like, unfortunately, you get the very loud minority tend to have huge followings who will jump immediately on the bandwagon because it's going to help grow their follower base, which is the priority. I've whinged about that many, many times, but I just wish there was that element of like, hey, it's pretty good. So if there will be a small proportion of people where maybe they can't do much in Excel at all, and they've got to do a simple thing. Like the examples I keep getting thrown back at me are like, oh, but it could do a 13-week cash flow thing. It's like, cool. Okay, so if you had literally zero skill and you could get ChatGPT to build you a 13-week cash flow template, which, by the way, you can download from about 100 different places for free anyway. Cool. Any step up where any kind of reasonably important decision is made, it's like, I don't think you should be vibe coding this. So what's the market? Who's using it, and how are they using it reliably?
I do think, having listened to your podcast, Giles, the other one, I think there was one. There are 2 things that came to my mind. I probably forget one of them, but the first one was because you're using esports challenges, and actually it appears to be better. Or these tools appear to be better at esports challenges. Because in the workbook there is a description of what it's meant to achieve, and also an example of what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Now, if you have something that's that clear, that has a clear outcome, I suspect that the prompting, like your prompt, hey, look at this workbook, solve these challenges. Well, you've kind of got sub prompts in your workbook, which means it's got the context of what it needs to do and how it needs to handle it. So there's a piece around having all of that information, additional information available, which means your prompt needs to be reasonably strong. Now, where was it? Somebody, I can't remember where I saw it. Somebody said that they're on agent mode, their average prompt is like 3 sides of A4 or something, which just makes me think, well, if that's the prompt to get the thing out that you want, it's almost faster to do that thing yourself than to actually have to write out those 3 sides of A4.
But I think, sorry, Mark, go on.
No, go on. So I think there's an element of clear prompts, and if you have a clear prompt, you probably get the output that you want. But if you haven't got that clear prompt, then honestly, it's just going to give you, it's not going to give you what you want, which is why when you say, hey, build me a financial model, etc., because it's not clear enough, you need to build a financial model where in cell C3 it does this. You'd end up with an enormous list of instructions that's very clear about what you want, and then it would probably do it. But then my second point was, but then you're just building a template, in which case just create a reasonable start template. Here's a financial model with a basic balance sheet, a basic P&L, a basic cash flow. Things are linked up. It's got some basic assumptions there. I'm not saying it's one of those models that has to do everything, because we know that as soon as you go down that route, it gets overly complex. But something that's just it's got a basic structure. Just copy and paste it, and then you can start building on that basic structure with all the complexities you actually need.
That's exactly.
So you can get something better by copying and pasting something that actually works to start with, which doesn't take 15 minutes. It takes 5 seconds.
But that's why I keep thinking, like, who is the target audience at the moment? Once it's like a few evolutions down the line, I'm sure it'd be amazing. But so anybody that knows any sort of financial modeling, I think you're right, Mark. Why wouldn't you just use your own templates, because you probably got them, or whatever? There's so many other ways you could get more reliable solutions. So is the target market like a business owner that doesn't want to spend money hiring a consultant, doesn't have any finance function? Are we expecting business owners to go to ChatGPT and go, oh, I need a 5-year monthly forecast. Tell me whether I should acquire this company at this price. Do I need to borrow this much debt to get me through the next 6 months? Is that what it's for? Like, I don't know, but that feels like the worst sort of person to use it.
There's not a I don't think there is a target audience right now. It is just like, let's see what it can do. By the way, we're going to charge everybody for it. So you pay for your license. You can do some simple things, like same with Power BI and Copilot and Power BI and things. It's just like this mythical idea that there's CEOs and chief execs who want to interrogate their own data and create their own dashboards on the fly, which isn't the case. They just want to open up a report, see that everything's okay, and close the report, right? They don't want to go, oh, I'm going to look for this. Oh, which sales measure should I use? Is it the one that's most popular by the rest of the business? So I'll use that sales measure rather than the other sales measure that somebody else. It's just not real. So then there's these sort of, you have to spend more time making your model robust enough so that AI doesn't get the wrong answer than it would if you just went and talked to this CEO and said, oh, by the way, what report would you like added here? I'll do it in 5 minutes. Yet there's this thing of, right, well, don't do that. Don't do that quick and easy thing. Let's make it so that we have to make the model super robust, super locked down, with no, blurry definitions and DAX that won't give you the wrong answer in the wrong scenario, so that the CEO doesn't have to ask you. Just ask me, right?
Yeah.
That's just the thing. It's just really.
I use it I use it as a co-pilot, not as as a driver. I ask it as someone who's, pretty skilled in certain things, and so I use it as an assistant to help me. And it, it has changed the way that I work, and it has changed the pace that I work at. And it has made me better because you learn from it as well. So I think there is, there are some positives to it, but there is also taking ownership and responsibility for understanding what the coding does. So, if I'm asking it to do something, because I do all sorts of things, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in every one, but I know my way around. So like last week, I was doing C# scripting with DAX in Tablet Editor, which I would never have been able to do without the help of ChatGPT. But at every step of the way, and I wrote some really cool code that did the things I wanted it to do, but I understood all the principles of what it was doing and how it was doing. But it just saved me from having to have syntax errors. And, which way should it go here and which way? So, it's about, for me personally, I find that it helps me with my development, but it's using it in that way. But you can't, I always say to people, Excel will do whatever you want it to do. Excel will always do whatever you tell it to do, but it won't necessarily tell you whether you're asking it to do the right thing for what you want it to do. It will do what you tell it to do, but context is critical. And that's why with BI, you have to sort of explain about, this is the model, these are how they're connected, these are how the relationships work, so that it gets a view, but it's improving dramatically all of the time. But you can't just pop stuff in and think, oh, well, that's it then, because if you don't understand it, you don't know if it's right or not.
But that's why I get really frustrated with what feels like a clash. Even I'm picking on Microsoft because we're Microsoft MVPs, but the people on the ground doing the technical work, again, like the team we spoke to yesterday, the stuff they're doing is amazing. And you can see like their hearts and minds are in the right place. They just want to make a better tool and they're getting feedback from people. But then you've got this clash between that and the marketing engine, which is doing the opposite and going vibe. You don't need to look at your computer. You can hit a button and go off. And it's like, even within Microsoft, there's that clash of like, they're building an amazing tool, which has just cleared the market. Like Agent is going to be way better than anything else. It's like, why isn't the marketing engine just aligning to that? But instead it's fueling this hype train that drives me nuts.
So this is a bit of an open question, because we've got at the minute we've got Copilot baked into various tools, but at some point does AI become good enough that actually you don't even need the tools? You don't even need Excel. You don't even need Power BI. You literally don't need any of those things, because it will just give answers by itself. It will understand data structures, and therefore you won't need any of those tools. And so, and when does that happen? Because if that happens soon, there's almost no point wasting your time on,
I would say in theory it could happen, but having worked with, I don't think I've worked with one company where the data is completely clean and structured and ready. So if you feed garbage into AI, you'll get garbage out. So none of the businesses that I've worked with at start point have had data that is robust enough to be fed into AI without being cleaned, modeled, having context added. So
but if that does ever happen, that literally we don't even need these tools, at some point the entire fabric, I don't mean fabric, that's not the infrastructure that we use and we rely on is kind of swept away. So you talk about jumping on the bandwagon, but at some point it's possible the bandwagon will leave and we just left behind. So
I almost feel like what you described, I feel like it's inevitable. Like if given enough time, and it's probably not that much time, and it's probably linked to the big talking point. When are we going to hit AGI, artificial general intelligence? When does AI take that next leap to the point where, I forget careers in Excel and training. I don't think we'll even recognize life at that point. So there'll be a million other things we have to deal with. But we're just not there yet. I reckon it's probably not even going to be that long, judging by how fast everything's changing.
There's a thing in education where it used to be called the saber-tooth curriculum. So, centuries ago, we were taught, how to hunt and fish and farm, etc. And then as societies evolved or changed, then the skills that you require become change. And you can imagine just like your finger from all the scrolling and stuff like that will evolve to enable you to scroll more or to type more. But how often, and you could argue, is there a need to actually write? Because so many people type now on a keyboard. Most people type on a keyboard as opposed to actually write. And
those days are numbered.
And those days, well, my sons don't. They just talk to the phone, so they don't even, they just talk. So they don't even type sometimes. Tell me this.
I'm trying to do more and more non-typing stuff to save my wrist and arm and things, and it's actually works really well. So it's a bit crazy. Right, let's move on.
I enjoyed that. I feel like a stone lighter.
It's good stuff, but stop the hype.
Yes, I think have honest conversations about, yes, it's exciting. Yes, it's enabling us to do more things. But no, it's not the answer to fix everything because it can't.
Yeah.
Stop the hype and just
Stop the hype. Hashtag. Okay. Right. Question of the week. Come on. Let's get into it. So here we go.
40 minutes.
We're good. We're good.
It's that time in the Unpivot show where we pose a question and tell you what we know. We may be right, we may be wrong. It's just an excuse to play this song. It's the question, it's the question, it's the question of the week. It's the question, it's the question, it's the question of the week.
Excellent. Okay, so listener question. Brilliant. Okay, keep sending us questions, folks. So listener question. Top 3 things, don't have to be 3, we could do as many as we want, to avoid when it comes to building a model. So that could be an Excel model, it could be a Power BI model. What are sort of some golden rules, things to avoid? Would anybody like to kick off? I've got a few jotted down, but what do you reckon? Anybody?
I'll go really techie geeky.
Yeah.
So when I first started Power BI development, you have this thing called the modeling, where you have your tables, your fact table with all the information, and your dimension table, which has got all your categories. And they used to talk about normalization. And in database theory, you normalize to your smallest nth. They call it 3NF. And so if you had an address, then you would have a table for each county, which would then feed into a table for the towns, which would then feed in. Whereas in Power BI, you just have one table for addresses. And my first models were built using this whole database 3NF, which made DAX horrid. Absolutely horrible.
You had lots of nested tables.
Yeah, lots of nested tables. And I was trying to write the DAX, and it was just horrendous. And I remember watching Alberto Ferrari on SQL BI, where he was explaining that normalization is 1NF. Just like, and it's terminology and understanding, and that just made things, so much simpler for me. That's my first big one.
Cool. Can I go with a very high level one that's Excel and Power BI?
Yeah.
Don't hard code into formulas.
Yeah. How do you feel about hard coding like 12 months in a year or 365 days?
Yeah, okay. Constant, like non-changing constants is all right. But anything else should just be taken out, referred to separately in some sort of variable input or somewhere obvious. The one with Excel is pretty clear. You can just put your value in a separate cell and refer to it. With some of the Power BI stuff, what I see often is people hard coding like filters into their DAX formula, which I don't like, proper words and things like 6 or 7 words into their filter for their DAX formula and stuff. Whereas I'm always pushing people to go, actually, better to have a separate little explicit table that this is your excluded product filter. Put them in there and then just refer to that in your DAX formula. So you don't want your logic all dotted around, hidden inside all little measures and things everywhere. Yeah. Ends up being a nightmare when stuff changes, or somebody puts an extra space somewhere, or all those sorts of things. You don't get the right answer. You didn't realize lowercase stuff and things. So don't hard code.
I've got one. So mine are pretty much all kind of strategic level, I guess, rather than going into the weeds of functions and stuff. But one is scope creep. So try and avoid scope creep. And my second one will be related to that. But I think that's one of the biggest factors in like financial modeling, at least, of whether you end up with a model that is deemed successful and gives you the answers that you need. If you go and allow that scope creep along the journey, then it is just a nightmare towards the end, because you have people saying, oh, but hang on, this looks great. That's brilliant. Actually, now that I've seen that, can you make it do these 5 extra things? And it's like, oh no, actually, that's quite a big thing to ask. I can't do that in 24 hours. So trying to hold people to account and stick to what was agreed, I think, is crucial.
So the precursor to that really then is just do a good scoping exercise. Actually spend some time.
There's phases that we kind of outline. You'll see them called different things, but I know the most common terminology is like scoping, specification. You can add planning in there if you want, build, review, go live. That first segment where you're agreeing with key stakeholders, what's the model going to answer? What's it going to do? What's it not going to do? Document it all, get an audit trail, and then you can, it doesn't mean that you can never agree to a change in scope, but it shouldn't just be casually like, oh yeah, that looks great. Let's just add these 5 bells and whistles as well. So yeah, cool. I'll do that by tomorrow.
I've got one. My one is don't escape all errors, or don't try and avoid all errors. Errors are a good thing. Errors are there to tell you that something's gone wrong.
Yes.
And it's very tempting to go, hey, I'm just going to avoid all the errors that can possibly come along. And even in Power Query, you can say, oh, well, we can avoid errors by using missing field.ignore. We can avoid errors doing this and errors doing that. Yeah, but if your field name has changed, it may mean that something else is going to break further down the line. Finding out it's broken at the start is the best place to get that error to occur. So I would say don't try and escape or avoid all errors that could possibly occur. In fact, try and make sure those errors surface as early as possible so you can fix them as early as possible, rather than waiting till much later when it's just because otherwise you cover them over and you end up at the end, you're like, oh, well, this number's not right, and you trace it back, and it's like you're going back through tens, hundreds of calculations to the first thing should have caused an error, but I used an if error to avoid it.
There's 2 areas for that. So for me, for Excel, I've always had a centralized errors check sheet. So that you do your error checking on all the various pages, but then you just pull them through to a central spot so you can just glance down it. So I had that noted down, like, don't skip that, don't skip doing that. And then with Power BI, I'm often dealing with clients who've got reporting systems that don't have the right categorization and stuff, so they have to have a separate Excel file with all the mapping in. This code means this thing, or whatever it might be. And they need a way of easily spotting when there's a new category that isn't mapped. So almost like most of my Power BI reports these days have a needs to be mapped like page at the start of the report. Hey, these are all the new things that got added this month, and you need to go back into the Excel file and update it. And I even put a little hyperlink to the Excel file, so it's just like, otherwise you just get blank showing up in your report, and you're like, what's that blank? And it's really hard to find that stuff in Power BI. You've got to go to the relationship and then your tables, and whereas Excel is a bit easier to trace, but error checking. Good. You got another one, Sue?
Be very careful when you use Excel as a source of data input. Very, very careful, because you can get anything, everything, all over the place.
And
so
this question came up yesterday. Don't use XLSB and definitely don't use XLS. So XLS can give you weird answers. XLSB doesn't refresh in the cloud if you're using Power BI. If you're trying to refresh from a XLSB file, it doesn't work.
Just be very, very careful if you're using an Excel, because it does weird things, especially with date.
There was definitely a phase, and I may have said this at one point online, where everybody was saying use XLSB, especially if you've got large models, because I know it condenses the size. But I think more recently, a lot more people have been talking about it does, but also there are drawbacks. You can get corruption issues with Power Query or VBA or something with XLSB quite easily. Something like that.
So just be careful. Mark or Giles, you got another one?
My next one would be plan for what the client or whoever's asked you this task, plan for what they haven't asked for. Which basically means once you extrapolate that out, don't use pivot tables. Now you're going to say, how did Mark get there? And that's because someone's going to ask for something, right? And you're going to power query it in, you get it into a table, you're going to put it into a pivot table, and you're going to send them, that's great. Can you just add this? And you're like, well, I can't do that in a pivot table unless I now copy and paste that result out to somewhere else. And then suddenly you've then built up this model of mess because you started with a pivot table, and you should think, right, what's the calculation engine I actually need? I actually need some formulas, and I actually need a power pivot with some DAX or something like that can calculate almost anything I want. Because otherwise you box yourself into a method of working, and you end up with being stuck with, I now can't do the things I need to because I made too many decisions early on that closed off the answer, the next stages that I actually needed.
So you saying power pivots okay, but normal pivots aren't?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the calculation engine for power pivot, you can do almost anything you like.
Yeah.
And the same with formulas, you can do almost anything you like. But with the pivot table, you've got a very limited scenario in which those things, and let's face it, in lots of scenarios, that will work. That is actually all that you need. But as soon as you start to plan for what else somebody could ask for, that simple aggregation of things, when you go, hey, I just want to see the period. Fantastic. Here's your numbers. Oh, I now want to see period and year to date. And I want to see from the same thing by clicking one slicer. And you're like, well, that's not going to work. And then you start butchering stuff in the background and trying to fix it in different ways. When if you've chosen the path that gave you the most flexibility to start with, you wouldn't have closed off to that kind of thing. So keep your options open for as long as you possibly can, which in my mind means don't use pivot tables. Standard pivot tables.
Good.
Yeah.
I like it.
I've got one.
Hang on. Wait your turn. You've had two.
Come on,
I've been here for 5 weeks.
I've got one. So don't be that dogmatic person. So this is actually a key message we share on our training. Bearing in mind we are training people in a particular way. Like one of the core messages at the end of our training is, okay, you've seen our way, but don't now go into the world. And the moment you see somebody like formatting an input a different way, be that dogmatic, loud person going, oh, that's wrong. And I've had training. And it's like, so I've seen this before. A lot of modelers use yellow fill as input formatting. Other modelers, typically in sort of corporate finance world, will use blue font. I don't care. Like at least you're formatting your inputs in the right way. And I've seen people lose sleep over somebody else formatting inputs a different way. Some people have said, like, oh, models should never be annual, they should always be monthly. It's like, well, actually, in some situations, annual models are fine. So don't be dogmatic about the way you do things. There will be various ways you can do things the right way. There you go.
Sue, go on then.
So mine's about BI modeling. Only bring in what you need. So there is a tendency to you attach to a database or blob storage or API or whichever. You don't need everything. And if you bring in everything, you have to maintain it. So be very, very selective about the columns that you need and the rows that you need, because you can always go back and choose to bring more in. If you choose select columns as opposed to remove columns, it's very easy to select and to rechange if the requirements change. But it's much better to start small and build up, particularly if it's something you're not used to or you haven't seen. So, start small, only bring in what you need to bring in so that you can manage it, because you don't want to be dealing with things that you don't have to if it's not required for your reporting.
Yeah. And a big shout out today to Measure Killer. They saved me hours and hours today. So Measure Killer can scan your Power BI report and work out which columns and measures aren't used in the report.
Nice.
And it was actually a base report and a connected report. And I could scan both. Brilliant.
Bruna BI. It's a brilliant tool. It'll go through, scan, see which measures, which columns. It's also got an enterprise version, so it will look over your whole tenant for you, which is quite useful if you haven't got access to some of the APIs that you need.
Yeah, and my tip, if you aren't allowed to use those sorts of tools, then if you do want to bring in everything to start with, just so you can see what, because you might be doing a bit of exploration at the start, chuck all the columns in a folder called not yet used. And then as you add them to visuals, drag them out of the folder and put them in the normal sort of spot. So then you just have all the not yet used ones. It takes a bit of discipline, but it will save you. If you're not allowed to use things like Measure Killer, it will save you a hell of a lot of time afterwards.
Yeah.
So
if you have Tableau Editor, then you can, and if you can't use Tableau Editor, then ask for Tableau Editor, because it will save you hours and hours and hours and hours. Cool.
I've got a couple. So again, Power BI ones came up this week. Not setting data types for your columns. It caused 2 hours of searching this week trying to help someone, because the error message that came up was just nothing to do with that, but the cause was that the data types weren't set properly.
It only shows your first 1,000 rows as a default within Power BI. So when you change it in your formula, it'll only change those first 1,000, and then when you load, it applies that type. If you haven't, or it tries to guess. Whereas if you change the type at the end, it checks it against your whole model, and particularly if you're using something like Excel with dates, you can almost put money on the fact that people will have entered dates incorrectly at some point in the spreadsheet somewhere. And if it's failing and you don't know why, ask it to look at your whole model and check your dates, because that is probably going to be your error.
The other couple I had was which is your one really, Sue, too many columns. And then doing data prep using DAX rather than actually doing the data prep in Power Query or even earlier. It's a common one we see as well. And going back to Giles' one, I had not considering the end user or the next owner. So that sort of scoping and Mark's thing as well about what are they going to ask for. So those are my ones from sort of a Power BI point of view. Any others from folks?
I've got one more, which is about balancing flexibility and complexity. So I once built this. I mean, it was amazing. Like I said it myself. It was the most flexible thing I'd ever built in Power BI. Right? It was. You could get your balance sheet, your P&L, your cash flow by getting different selectors. You could get your actuals and your last year and your year to date, and it was all on this one visual, and it was it's fantastic. My understanding of how that worked when I came back to it a little while later was exceptionally small. And the truth was, because I thought, hey, why don't I make all my columns flexible as well? And then a user can pick anything they like. A user doesn't want to pick anything they like. They have a restricted number of things they actually want to see. If I'd have done that, admittedly, if I'd done that, it would have run much faster as well. That's the other benefit. But it's that thing of, hey, if I make this thing do everything that it possibly can, and that's that balancing that piece off around understanding what a user might actually want. But then you've got, then am I going to build something that's so flexible that it can do anything they want, but it's so complex to use that no one ever uses it? So there's that piece around, don't make something 100% flexible. Make it as flexible as it needs to be. Don't keep going to, and this can be, eventually you get to the point where you're almost avoiding values in cells in Excel because, hey, it's pulling in stuff from everywhere else. And I've got all these other things that are pulling in. It just becomes so hard to maintain that you can't, and then it's just a nightmare. So it's the balance between, don't make everything as flexible as it possibly can be. It's okay to come back to a report and change it rather than having everything operating by disconnected slicers just because you can.
Do you think
it's just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. And the thing I would say is be kind to your future self. So comment. Although what you could do is pop your code into ChatGPT or whichever you're using and say, tell me what I was doing here. And it would probably be really good at that, because it's not writing your code for you, but it's explaining what the code means. So, there is that just be kind to yourself, be kind to future you, because you might not be with your head down the rabbit hole as you do when you're making something.
Do you think it's a bit of a rites of passage, that sort of trying to do the mega solution and then just getting burnt? I think we've all done it. It's just, this is just so, this could do anything now, but then it's just so complicated.
Oh, they're going to want this. This is really cool. And it's
just a whole bunch of redundant code, right? Ultimately, that when something changes, you've got to go and check all that redundant code. Your future change isn't going to break some of that redundant code that isn't being used anyway. So it's just, you make a rod.
It's funny because that's where, if you think about what we were talking about earlier, in a world where everybody is just vibe coding or vibe modeling, people are not going to get the experience of getting these things wrong and understanding why the thing they've done is not quite right. I don't know how that will end up, but it's quite interesting.
Less is more sometimes.
Less is
more. Your cat in the background.
There's my cat. I just noticed the cat bursting in and out of the screen.
Animals.
Oh. I've got anybody else got any more? I'm just avoid putting. Sorry, what's that, Giles?
Don't make mistakes.
Just don't make any mistakes.
Don't make mistakes.
Great.
But if you do make mistakes, learn from them.
Get better next year.
That's a great New Year's resolution.
Get better next year.
Oh, we're coming up to that. I'm sure I've got our New Year's resolutions from last year saved somewhere.
Oh God! Oh yeah, we did do a bit of that at the start.
We had a little spreadsheet, didn't we? That's going to be fun.
Was Mark running?
You don't talk about that anymore.
We've got to arrange a date for our Christmas special as well. We'll do a live stream. So we've got to try and coordinate a proper date for that stuff. Right.
Before we close up, can I just say 2 more things to avoid?
Oh yeah.
Avoid copy and paste at all costs, because that's your manual action, right? That's the thing. Because equally, and avoid the phrase "that'll only take me 5 minutes." Oh, can you say this? Oh yeah, that'll only take me 5 minutes.
Yeah, never say that.
And the truth is, it never takes 5 minutes. And if it does take 5 minutes, then you're going down the copy and paste route, and then you've created that 5 minutes every time you then need to update it. And it wasn't 5 minutes; it was actually half an hour. So well done, you! You've just created an extra half-hour task every week by saying, "Well, it might take me a little while. I'll work on it."
Quite right. Or also not pushing back, but just mentioning, I can do that, but it's going to take me about 2 or 3 hours. Because people often, certainly when I was junior, so advice for my junior self was tell people how long stuff's going to take, senior people, because they don't know. And and if you go off and spend 2 days building something and they're like, oh, okay, it took you 2 days. Oh, I wouldn't have even asked for it if I'd realized it was more than 5 minutes of work. So always tell them before you go off and just do it. Brilliant. All right. I think, we had a whole nother topic to cover, which is beautiful for next time.
What was the other topic?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you. Spoilers. Hashtag spoilers. All right. We are good. I'm going to go and have my dinner. What else is everybody else up to? Any marathons this weekend, Sue?
Do you know, actually, I've been really sensible. I'm due to run one on Sunday, but I'm tired. And so I've decided to defer it until next year.
Good.
I'm going to go on a little run. I'll go do a 5K. Why not?
I've been doing a little bit of walking and stuff. So,
Yeah. There's still exercise, because I love it, but I'm not going to put myself through it. Just going to have a little,
I've decided I'm tired, so I'm deferring everything till next year as well. Whatever it is, deferred.
Next year.
Yeah.
Why doesn't AI replace all the stuff we don't like doing?
What don't you like doing? What do you want it to
exercise, being healthy, eating well.
Ironing.
Why can't AI make things like chocolate and burgers that are genuinely good for you? Like, imagine a world where if you woke up and just ate chocolate, you actually got healthier and leaner and stronger. I want AGI to make that happen, and then I'll never use Excel again. I'll just eat chocolate all day.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I like healthy food and running.
Myself.
Nice.
Chocolate.
There you go.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right. Thank you, folks.
On that note,
Wine, though, wine.
wine,
The review-
wine and chocolate.
Wine.
AGI needs to make wine and chocolate healthy, and then I won't get out of bed.
And cheese.
And
Cheese.
cheese. Oh,
Cheese.
God,
I'm just
imagine.
fading you out on the podcast in that moment.
Oh.
Right, bye, folks.
Bye.